Welcome to Rockstar Doctor Life. I'm Melissa Longo, and each episode, my guests and I will bring you fresh, fun ways to rock your life as a health professional and create a business that aligns with who you are and the life you want to live. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Rockstar Doctor Life. I am here today with Dr. Hollen Meyer, and we're going to have a great chat about her experiences in chiropractic, as well as some cool things that she's doing right now to help other chiropractors. So Hollen, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. This is exciting. I've been listening to your show for a while now.
Well, thank you. I love to start the show with everyone just giving a brief sort of Coles Notes synopsis version of what is Dr. Hollen doing in her life right now.
Right now, I have launched the Wellness Doctor Network, and what it is, it's a group of doctors of various specialties. They're able to create a network together so that the community has one place to go to find a wellness-based doctor, and then the doctors, we create opportunities to collaborate. We increase their visibility. We help them make the connections that they need to make, both for patient care and also for business. So what I tell people is I have kind of self-proclaimed, I'm the catalyst to bridge the gap in healthcare.
Yeah, I love it. And you came to this realization this is a role you wanted to play in the healthcare system because of your time as a practicing chiropractor?
Yeah, in practice, so I was in practice in North Dallas for over 11 years in private practice. And we gained quite the visibility. And we were on TV 3 or 4 times a month in magazines and all the media outlets, radio. And we really got the visibility that chiropractic needs. And so I just want to do the same for other doctors without it having such a high price tag that some of those media outlets can have. And now we have so many more outlets on social media. So by perfecting that interview process and by just utilizing my skills and expertise, I want to be able to help other doctors do the same.
Yeah, I love it. And so you must have some tips for doctors who are just getting started or maybe a little curious doing some media work. And without giving away all your secrets, do you have a couple of things that you always share with docs?
Sure, especially new docs as well. But all the docs in practice, I have to remind myself of these things too. But one of the first things is to be able to connect to your audience. So whether it's your target market in an advertising setting or the person sitting right in front of you, just to be able to connect with them and be specific about what you're trying to relay and hit on their pain points. That's important to draw them in emotionally so that you have the opportunity to actually help them. Mm-hmm. And when they're right in front of you, being able to control that conversation and listening enough to be able to talk to them and not at them. And I think by connecting with people is huge. Mm-hmm. As far as increasing visibility, there's so many tricks with social media now. And I like to utilize social media because from a financial standpoint, what I spent most of my career doing, like on CBS and TV, I mean, that is thousands and thousands of dollars per minute. And now there's no huge barrier like that to be seen. So really just get out there without trying to do it the right way or the perfect way. Because a lot of times if you don't do it the right way, you often have a greater impact because you're not looking like anyone else. And just be authentic.
Yeah.
And the last thing is collaboration. These are the 3 things we focus on. When it comes to collaboration, so many of us operate like on an island. And if we can just get off our island and talk to other chiropractors, and don't be afraid to talk to other types of practitioners as well, because they're curious about chiropractic too. And if we don't share with them what the truth is about chiropractic, they're going to make their own assumptions.
100% agree with that one. I think we can be doing that in our communities regardless, right? Whether you're doing it on a big scale or a little scale, is building those relationships and those connections with other people who can, you can refer to and they can refer to you. And it really adds to patient care. And to me, it adds to my own knowledge. If I can learn something from the other providers in my community, then I feel stronger more clinically, right? Stronger clinically. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So if we were just to pull apart those 3 tips there, like getting out there, probably easy for you to say that because you've had all this experience. And I'm sure for some of your clients, it's easier said than done. So for someone who's sitting here listening to you going, oh my God, like I would love to, get out there and do a podcast or do a video or get a TV segment in my community, but they're held back by their lack of confidence or a fear, what do you tell them?
I tell them that I'm literally in their shoes every single time I get on, because I have to talk myself into it and coach myself up and psych myself up every single time. People assume I'm an extrovert, but I am not. Like, I have to like mentally coach myself through, like, power up, come on, you know?
Yeah.
And so I first want to say that they're not alone and they're not the only ones. I found that we're all more alike than we are having superpowers.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would just say that start on a small scale, you know, even if it's having an event inside your office with your patients, with people that you're already an expert, like they see you as an expert and you already have that platform. That's a great place to start. And then sometimes you're never going to be ready. You're never going to feel ready. You just have to do it.
Jump.
And it's scary. Yes, it's scary. And something that has really helped me is to have coaches like yourself, Melissa, coaches in business and coaches that will push you to do more than you would ask of yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that it's such a powerful situation.
In so many ways.
Well, thank you. I mean, someone asked me this recently. I think it was Jim Chester. We'll give Jim a great shout out here, you know, because he asked me, I think on their interview or maybe at one of our live events, you know, what do you do when you're scared to do something, or how do you embrace fearlessness? I don't know. I think some people have it innately. Some people are more adventure seekers and have that ability. But I think it's definitely more and more, it's something that it's a skill that you learn. And, you know, the more you do things, the more you do one scary thing, then the next scary thing gets a little bit easier to do. Your confidence goes up. And so I think just jumping in, I mean, if I think about the first interviews I ever did 6 years ago on television, live television half the time, I mean, I would still love to go back and see how horrible I was, because it would be entertaining. But, you know, you get better the more you do things. And I think that a fear, it holds a lot of people back. So you clearly have a vision. And that's always what I try to remind people of, like, your vision has to be bigger than what's holding you back. So what's your vision? Where did your vision come from? The idea that you want to bridge, you want to be the catalyst and you want to bridge, you know, healthcare.
Honestly, where this came from was whenever I sold my portion of the practice, things did not go as smoothly as I had hoped for. It was heartbreaking, actually. And patients left and right were reaching out to me saying, this isn't going to work. Who else can I see for this specific thing? And who else can I see for this specific thing? So it became a full-time job for me to place these people with a doctor that's perfect for them. So I said, you know what? Let me just give everybody in the whole community one place to go to find the doctor that they're looking for. Because in our practice, we had a bunch of different types of options. And so that was kind of where the idea was birthed from. And then not long after that, I actually had an ectopic pregnancy. And that little blueberry-sized soul is what set this all on fire. And so I then had a purpose and a vision. So that was the powerful thing that really launched me forward. And that's the beauty that I see in such a tragic experience. But that's what it was for me. And that's what it took for me. A lot of people, it doesn't take something so dramatic, but for me, that was what pushed me over the edge.
I think I'm sorry to hear that, you know, you went through that. Listeners, we've all gone through difficult things in our personal life and our professional life. And I believe that, you know, there are always things that throw a purpose. There's a purpose and a silver lining in it somehow. And that I know, you know, if you're in a place right now watching this or hearing this, that it's not something you can see, I'm going to just remind you to keep going forward and keep looking at it and find the right people to love and support you through it. Because that was my next question for you, Hollen, is when you go through something difficult, so whether it was, you know, selling your practice, you know, dealing with the pregnancy loss, what were some of the things that helped you keep going and see the bigger purpose and find that connection, that vision moving forward?
You know, I said it was heartbreaking. It was quite depressing, literally, just all of that kind of in a similar time frame. And I started believing lies about myself that were just hateful. And I realized my self-talk was pretty harsh. And lies like, what good am I as a doctor if I don't have any patients? like, what purpose could you possibly serve in the world now? You've lost all of your momentum.
Mm-hmm.
And I started to believe those things, but something that was helpful for me was to write down the lies, and then right next to that, scratch it out and really voice and write down and voice the truth, the
Mm-hmm.
real truth.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's kind of what helped me step out of just, to some degree, self-pity, to some degree, self-blame and guilt and shame throughout all of it, and just really seek out the truth instead of just having these thoughts swirling around in my head, and it gets to my heart.
Mm-hmm.
But that's kind of how I stepped out of the darkness and into more of the light, and just reading more about what the Bible says that I am, because I couldn't come up with some good things. And so that was a good starting point for me. And also surrounding myself with people that believed in me, with people that spoke life into me, leveling up with coaching, so that even through the fear and even through the funk, somebody was still challenging me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that outside in perspective, I know that in my life, all the difficult things I've been through, there were so many times where the right person at the right time, or usually a few of them, and even, my children at times, were what I needed to bring me back from whatever thoughts I was having of not being worthy, not being good enough, being frustrated with any dimension of my life. And the people around you, we all know this. I firmly believe that, you take on, the traits and the habits of the people that you hold close to you. So if you're not associating yourself with people who are lifting you higher and who believe in you when you maybe don't believe in yourself, that's not going to be a win for anyone in life.
Right. And that was a hard thing for me that I had to realize, because I became very secluded and in isolation, which made just everything even worse. I didn't realize it at the time. I thought I was protecting myself. But really, whenever I just reached out to just one person and one coach that didn't know me personally too much and didn't have a whole lot of judgment, he was just there for business, so he thought, but it was so much more than that to me. Yeah. And so just by don't operate in isolation, that's really can become harmful.
Yeah. And it's like, ask for help. Like, there's no strength in trying to do everything yourself, whether you need to delegate simple tasks in your practice or in your family life, or emotionally trying to do it all yourself. I mean, not reaching out and connecting and asking for love and support wherever you need it in your life is a reminder for all of us. And I'm reminding myself that every day too.
Right. And I think it's hard for anybody, but definitely women, to show the world or people they're close to, or even people that assume that they're a superhero. It's difficult to take that cape off and say, okay, here's the reality,
Yeah. And so
they're so used to holding up the world.
Yeah. So let's talk about, you clearly have some great support around you. And I'm sure one of the people who's great support is your partner. What do you guys do? And I've had the pleasure of meeting your husband. And I know that you like to golf and you have some other shared interests, but what does Dr. Hollen like to do for fun? And how do you recharge yourself when you're not wearing your superhero cape and connecting doctors in the Wellness Network?
Sure. So we do like to golf, although more often I just walk with him while he golfs. And I hit at the golf ball every now and then, but that keeps me in shape, and it also keeps me present while he's doing what he loves to do, and then we have time together. So that's a sacrifice and an opportunity for me. I love that. I also love Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I got into that also, just getting out of my funk and releasing getting some physical contact in there. That was surprisingly fun for me. My husband was like, oh my gosh, could you have not gotten into yoga?
Question, because I would have never known that about you. That's fantastic.
I know. I love it. My husband, like I said, was like, I mean, can you not just do yoga? Like, now I have to be worried about someone chopping your neck off. And I'm like, we're still teammates. So we're nice to each other. We take it to the point that we tap out before we pass out.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, how important do you think it is for doctors to have some time out?
It's huge, because the whole time I was in practice, I didn't have that. I felt some sort of pride in the grind, in waking up at 4 a.m. to get to the gym and staying at the office till 8 p.m. working on my business and a few side hustles, I took pride in that. And then when I realized, whenever I got out of private practice, all of my self-worth was wrapped up in the success of my practice. And I didn't know who I was without that. I was like, well, what do I do? What do people do?
Mm-hmm.
You know? And so then I started golfing. That was kind of when I started golfing, but that was really what my husband loved to do. Like, I didn't know who I really was without the practice in chiropractic. And I did take pride in that, and I thought it was awesome, and it served me well from a business perspective, but I realized that some other things, it just didn't have great balance.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I know that you are not alone in that. I've had so many conversations with doctors and just friends and loved ones, and that there does seem to be that disconnect at times where we get caught up in defining our success in one dimension and forgetting the other parts of our life that are rich and rewarding and are definitely markers of success as a human being. So how do you define success for yourself now, having been through that?
I think that's such an interesting question for me at this point, because it's always been, and still is a little bit, just based on the bank account growing. Mm-hmm. Doesn't matter if there's $1 in there or $1 million in there, as long as the bank account is growing. That was how I've always defined success. And to some degree, that's still part of it, a piece of it, but not all of it. Mm-hmm. And kind of going through a few things I've been through, success is in enjoying what you're doing when you're doing it, and even when you're not. Because when I was in practice, it was awesome when I was there, but when I wasn't in practice, I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what I liked to do, but I didn't realize it because all I had to do was eat and go to sleep. You know, but enjoying what you do when you're doing it, and especially when you're not doing it, to still be able to love life and everything about it, with or without it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that can apply to any different dimension in your life.
Right.
Yeah. So you've talked about, being around the right people and your faith and things that have helped you in times of challenge. What are some other resources that you have for doctors that have helped you get to this point now where you're able to define success in, your business growth, but also these other dimensions?
Yeah. Resources is going to be the Inner Circle, the coaching group that we've mentioned a couple times that you're a part of. So thanks for that. And just leveling up with a coaching group. And also, ton of podcasts. I love your podcast.
Thank you. What else are you listening to?
Jocko Willink is a popular one for me. And then Stephen Furtick, he's a pastor at Elevation Church. I love his stuff and his delivery and how he brings a message that's applicable to our lives. So, and then the Bible's a big one for me. But those are probably some of the big ones. Books. I've gone through so many books. And I love Extreme Ownership, also by Jocko Willink. I love that one. And then one that I'm reading again is Byron Katie, Loving What.
Yeah. I was told to pick that one up years ago, and I didn't really get into it, but it keeps coming up for me the last couple of weeks. People have been talking about it, so maybe that's a divine sign that I need to pick it up now.
I've read it a number of times. The first time I was like, oh, this is really cool stuff, but I didn't use it. The second time I didn't even finish it because I just didn't connect with it. Now, especially after having been through Women of Iron experience, now it takes on a whole new meaning for me, and I'm able to utilize those tools that they give and just really seeking out truth and getting past barriers and really understand how to love what is now.
Right. And really what's true and what's not true.
Yeah.
I love it. And we'll definitely put in, listeners and viewers, a link to the Women of Iron program that Dr. Ed Osborne runs. You did the Men of Iron for a long time, and now there's been a program for women that clearly, you were part of and you had a great experience. So we'll put a link in for that. If you were to drop any last lingering words of wisdom or inspiration on listeners, what would that be today?
I would have to, if I were to leave you with something, I would have to say, just get off your island. It seems comfortable and simple when you operate in isolation. Even your business, so many of us, I did it for a number of years. It seems comfortable and it seems safe and it seems simple and the right thing to do. but just start going to seminars and start meeting people around you and start reaching out to maybe people you see on Facebook. Actually reach out to them, even if they feel like they're out of your league, and just seek a mentor. I think those are some of the big things, is to seek a mentor, whether it's personally or in business.
Or both.
Exactly.
have like a team.
I have a business mentor. I have a spiritual mentor. I kind of have my life person. So yeah.
The more loving and support around you, and people who can see things from the outside in, objective, clarity, which we can, obviously we talked about this too. You get caught up in your own stories and your own emotions and your own past experiences. And it can be a barrier for seeing what needs to happen moving forward with more clarity. So having the right people around you is fantastic. Thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate chatting with you. And listeners, be sure, and viewers, be sure to check out what Dr. Hollen is working on and find out if there's a way that you can increase your visibility in your community, and certainly learn some of her marketing and media tips, because she's the bomb.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to join you on this. Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed today's show. Find out more about today's guests and everything else that we talked about in the show notes. You can also find all this content and so much more, including videos, blog posts, and how you can work with me on the Rockstar Doctor Life website. If you haven't yet reviewed the show, we'd love it if you headed on over to iTunes, subscribe, and leave us a review about what your thoughts are about future episodes for the show and what you like best. Feel free to connect with me on Instagram at Melissa Longo DC, and of course on Facebook. Thanks again for listening. We'll see you next time.